Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. We want to thank our newest patrons.
Indeed, we want to say a huge thank you to Solani and Darren.
Absolutely. We couldn't do it without you guys' unique videos going up over there. Yesterday, we did a deep dive into exactly what's going on in the past that you may not be aware of, or maybe you are aware of. The fact is, the past repeats itself. Sometimes it feels like it's a never-ending story. Yes. It really does feel like we're living in Orwell's 1984. And for those that can get access to the movie, albeit it's going to feel very cheesy, I think it's still very, very good to watch it because it kind of makes a big point. If you haven't seen it yet, I mean, it's an old movie. The war helps to preserve that special atmosphere that the hierarchical society needs. War is purely internal affair. Now, it says the war is waged to keep the structure of that society intact. And yeah, I would agree with that. We get these statements from that movie, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Yeah, everything that we see is upside down and inside out. And the majority of people on this planet are not thinking clearly. They even, as we were saying yesterday, they can't think clearly. They've been so traumatized and so laden with all sorts of chemicals and other things that inhibit their ability to see things for what they really are. And here you see the war is not meant to be won. It's meant to be continuous. Doesn't it seem like we've had forever wars ever since really Vietnam? And the reality is it goes way back. I did a video about 3 years ago. I think we did a video and I dug up all the wars. And there was no time period of any significance where there wasn't war on this planet. Now, some might say, well, humans are very aggressive and warlike, but I think it's manipulated into being that way. And that's what really feels to be the truth with me. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act and can bring trouble to the person that's literally telling the truth. This is another Orwellian statement. And absolutely, Big Brother is watching us all the time. All the time. In fact, in the movie, there's a whole bureau that, what do? They recycle old news, turn it into new news, and they change names, faces, and places, and just artificially create situations. Yet, at the same time, people are leaving the planet, leaving 3D, but not necessarily in the ways that we think they are. Now take it to today. We have Russia pounding Ukraine's cities and front lines as air defenses dwindle. Russia destroys Ukrainian power stations and defenses as expert warns Kiev's troops are utterly exhausted. And as we said, the reality is they're destroying a whole generation of people in this area. And globally is what they're doing. They're destroying a whole generation for a theoretical country that didn't even exist 50 years ago. And if we go back farther, we have the same thing going on with Israel. Why did it come back into existence? It wasn't the will of the creator of this universe. No, that's what the ones that are drinking the Kool-Aid believe. And again, we've been too gullible for far too long. People have not questioned authority. But think about it. So many people are brought up, with don't question authority, whack. Do what we tell you, whack. And this is what the power structure does to us, is it whacks us all the time. Whenever we question authority, whack. In fact, when you look to the biblical book of Judges, what does it tell you? Every time the people go against, the Lord, oh boy, bad things happen. Yeah, you go against the system, bad things happen. Again, we believe that there is a creator of this universe. We are not atheists, but we wouldn't label ourselves anything. because every label that exists in this particular world has been given to us by a system that is dark, evil, and diabolical, and has an ulterior motive. Did you realize that so many of these contracts that are underway, their end date's not until 2030? Current end date, January 31st, 2030. As you see, the JB administration has authorized countless multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar deals. Really is what's going on. Billions. Your taxes are going to create death and destruction. It's pretty depressing to think about that way, but that is the reality. Through the year 2030. And isn't there an agenda with that year? Yes, because we are not on our own timelines here. We are on the timelines that are given to us from a much, much bigger picture. And we've talked about that. We've talked about things that are coming to an end at this period in time. Why did they have that forecast for 2025, that DEAGEL forecast? Because cosmic treaties and agreements are being negotiated and rewritten well beyond the human level. Here you have U.S. Secretary Treasury Yellen saying, all we got to do is just take their money. No need for Israel to strike back. Only thing that's happened is decrease in the valuation of the dollar and ostracizing the U.S. and Israel from the rest of the planet. Ultimately, what they are doing is they're creating the conditions where all of us in the NATO countries are going to find ourselves in a hyper devaluation mode and deflation. It's just, we're being set up economically for the big fall. And they know this. She knows this. She totally understands this. She's an actor that can keep a semi-straight face and just spew one distorted statement after another. Sanctions have destroyed us. Sanctions are working against us. All you got to do is look at these other cities around the world. Look at the mega cities, not just like Dubai and some other places in Southeast Asia, but look at the average city over in China. Technologically, far ahead of the U.S. You even had, what's his name, Tucker Carlson, just saying, my gosh, Moscow is so much nicer than any state in the U.S. Because they've sold us in the U.S. out. But the divisions are what has to go. This is never going to end until humanity says, I don't care what country I live in. I'm not killing other humans. I'm not going along with your program. Screw you.
We're in a situation, and when Mike was kind of scrolling through the news there, I was looking at that, the contract, and I'm thinking, I don't remember agreeing to this contract yet. My tax dollars are still going to that. And it's like, what can we do without getting ourselves in trouble or crippling ourselves? What can we do to just simply not pay that? Now, honestly, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer, with the exception of stop supporting the system. Pick something, pick anything, and just stop supporting the system in that area little by little, just like chipping away at a statue. Eventually you get there. But I think that is so extremely unfair, and they've set up laws and more laws to create ways where they can just simply do what they want, and they don't check with those who are actually footing the bill. And yet these controllers are still, flying in their private jets, driving their new cars, paying for some really, really, really nice lunches, and we're footing the bill. It really kind of can get to you if you sit with it for too long. So I try not to sit with it, but it is a reality that we live in, and sometimes we have to address that. But that's kind of where I'm at with it all. It is a huge mess, trying to figure out what is my part in not supporting that system, not allowing these things to move forward, at least not move forward easily, not so easily as they do. And even if it's corrupt, even if it's, not lawful, they do it anyway. And one thing I keep seeing over and over and over is, if the white hats are in charge, we're in trouble. this is what we get.
Because they're not really white hats.
Right.
This is, again, we shouldn't be naive. We have to be realists at the same time, put out our intentions for positive outcome. But realize that the only person you can control as far as frequency and understanding is yourself. That's it. We could try our best to try to wake up all the others in this world, but the reality is most of them aren't going to wake up in time. Most of them aren't. And that's, something that it just is pretty apparent. Even as they're awakening to one thing, they're still sound asleep to others that are just as big, if not bigger, methods of control. If anybody thinks that somebody of this caliber could possibly make any valid decisions, you're obviously drinking too much Kool-Aid, smoking too much something.
And I made it clear to the Israelis, don't move on Haifa. It's just not, anyway.
Yeah, Haifa is the third largest city in Israel. So, yeah, don't attack yourself now, guys. Is that what he's meaning? No, he's supposed to be a senile old coot. He's supposed to be absolutely disgusting and just a joke, and he is. So he's a good actor in that sense, or at least this particular version's a good actor. The other ones, come across a little bit more. Having more cognitive abilities than others. But again, it's all an illusion. It's always been an illusion. Here you have Hezbollah releasing footage of its kamikaze drone attack on the headquarters of Reconnaissance Company of the Israeli Army's Western Brigade in the village of Arab al-Aramsha, northern Palestine. 18 casualties, 6 serious. Again, the distortion and the cover-up is so huge, and the blackout, and, what's under there? Ooh, it looks pyramidal. What are they doing there? So, it's so distorted, so twisted, it's so confused, and it's meant to be that way. Meanwhile, you still have bombs and rockets going on the people of Gaza. And it's interesting, too, because I noticed there were Twitter accounts I don't subscribe to that were in my feed that were showing people in Gaza splashing in the sea, having themselves a merry old summertime is what it looked like, a wonderful day at the beach. So what's the truth? This is what's getting me thinking about, and I think this is what's playing in Cindy's consciousness too, because here you have them saying, no, on the Israeli side, it's not really happening. Look at them. They're splashing in the beach. They're having a good time. Then I've seen videos where, food has been dropped in multiple ways on the beach. People are going out to get it, and then the machine guns roar, and people are dropping like flies. It looks like Dunkirk again. What's the truth? The reality is, unless we're there, we really have to use our discernment. They're always trying to get us to be just controlled by our anger. They're going to trigger our anger any way they can. They want us taking out ourselves. It makes it so much neater for them if we just do it for them.
That's something that they're going to do, and they're going to continue to do, and it is very, very frustrating because I've seen a lot of headlines, and I've had friends send me like little clips of supposedly acts of war, yet later on somebody comes back and says, oh no, this was just a clip out of a video game. So they're constantly putting information out there, and we don't honestly know if it's true or not. What I think is
either way,
whether
it really is a video game or whether that person is working for the FBI, CIA, right. Mossad. These ones that are saying the Palestinians are relaxing on the beach, over in Gaza. They're probably Mossad. The ones that are coming out, they're paid off in some way, shape, or form The reality is very sad, is that, you have so many humans that have decided to betray other humans to have a better life than others, to have more notoriety and prestige. And this is the separation. I think the separation's getting pretty close to where we simply won't be able to tolerate those that are on the ascension path, the energies of those that are not.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you from personal experience, and that's what I'm trying to go with this whole thing, is like talking about what I know. And when it comes to things that happen in this world and then handing it over to the media, that is two totally different worlds. The media is going to put on there what the media wants to spin. So it doesn't matter if you were the person who experienced it. If you're then reading about this experience in the media, it's going to be completely different from what they say. And who are you going to be able to reach out to tell the truth to? There's so many people to reach. So we're looking at this situation and we're just getting what we're getting from the media. And there's a lot of people with their blood boiling, and we're trying to get people to use that anger in a constructive way, not destroy themselves. Don't stress yourself out. Don't let your cortisol get pumping and have your organs start to deteriorate. That's what they want. And then you have to go to the doctor, and then you have to get these other pills, and then you got to do this, and it's on. And you can see how they actually live off of us. Parasites.
Yeah, absolutely. So here you have the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran coming in, heading into New York again. They're going to go to the UN, etc. And there's a lot of talk about Palestinian statehood. Even at this point in time, China is throwing their support behind the Palestinian people, of course, because this is really one of the foundational pieces of WW3, and the other one to the north there in Ukraine, ongoing. This is all part of their bigger plan right now. And what do we have in New York City here? You see just so many new arrivals. Yes, arrivals again coming in and swarming because of not good enough food, not good enough. Well, they're just not happy. They haven't gotten what they were promised. And the thing is, you have to realize too, there's multiple things going on. Many of these people are coming from nations that hate the U.S. and hate NATO. As you see, this is New York City. It's fixing to get ready to explode at this point in time. And there's thousands of them. And there are random acts of horrific atrocity that's going on in different countries at different times, more all the time. Now, you have to be pretty desperate to cross an ocean and try to come to a country with nothing, giving up even family members, as, most of what we're seeing here is young men. The vast majority are young men. So they're leaving their moms, their dads, their sisters, their brothers. They're leaving their girlfriends, their wives. That typically only happens in time of war, where all the young men take off and go to fight abroad. Just saying, But for those that are really looking for a new start and then may bring over their loved ones, it still shows desperation on a massive scale. And then when you realize this is actually funded by the UN, and this is all part of a much bigger picture that never really stops. Because, one of the things that I realized looking at genetics and looking at different haplogroups are different genetic families, so to speak, genetic tribes. The mass migrations on the planet is a regular routine event. And I don't think our given history accounts for these, honestly. As you see, as illegal migrant in New York speaks through a translator, complain about free meals, housing, etc. Even on Ramadan, we could not eat during breaks because the food is not good at all. This is all to trigger you. And this is all to just keep stoking the hatred. This is Milan, Italy, where this one guy was talking to somebody, didn't even see that somebody was going to jump kick him in the head and face plant him and then totally just knock him unconscious. And not a single male comes to his aid at all. Actually, some women do. If this guy is not totally on drugs, I don't know who is. Look at his eyes. Again, you have to realize the biggest drug dealers, is truly the system in place. When we learned about the ongoing events way back with the drug trade that started to come out in the 90s. It started to come out in the 90s. Yeah, absolutely. Even before that, there were rumors that the feds were working with the Italian mob as far as drugs go. There's a reason why. It's because ultimately none of the alphabet soups, none of the governmental agencies are really working for humanity. They're all working for the control system, which is not human. That's the only thing that makes sense. Now, we know it is a complete fact, and we know many of you know it's a complete fact. I know most of you listening understand this completely. You understand the fact that it's not really humans running the show here, and that those that are working in these agencies are really working for non-Homo sapien beings in order to control Homo sapiens. And this is a man charged with double homicide in New York. Haitian man, first entered in July 2023 when he was released into the country via parole after booking an appointment on the CBP One app. Yeah, the apps, that's just a stage. I hate apps. I can't stand apps. I can't stand the technology. It really, really does make me nauseous. Again, this is just one step, and the next stage is that technology is literally in you. So that way you won't ever lose it, and there's going to be people that line up for that. Greece pushes back the boats, and illegal migration drops from 850,000 to just 12,500. Could the UK do the same? It's too late. And this is how go time is this year and not another year off. If somehow they stalled for whatever reason, because we don't always know the reasons, as we're saying, these treaties are at a level beyond anybody on the planet. They're not going to notify us. They don't notify us as to it. People that can get notified, these are your channelers. These are the people that are channeling info, because, again, we are in a grid. We're in an energetic grid. Think about the satellites that Elon has up in place. Well, before Elon, there were still satellites in place. Absolutely. Oh, by the way, future forecasters did a remote viewing on Elon. So what they do is they get a target. It's in a sealed envelope. They don't open the envelope. So they hold the envelope, or each person has its own technique. They sense what's in the envelope and what the target is, and then they write their impressions. It is pretty interesting to see people do this. And what a couple of them got, especially, was interesting in that he's not what he looks to be. He's working with other agencies very high up in shadowy places. His personality and character is nothing like what you see. Very, very different, and they didn't know it was Elon. A couple of them stopped it when they started drawing the picture, and they realized, oh, this is Elon Musk. And now I got to stop this experiment because I cognitively know who this person is. So yeah, that's the only way we can get true information, is by going within, tapping within. If you are really looking still, you get channels that are just talking about what Plato was saying, 1,000 years ago almost now, Yeah, no, I mean, more than 1,000 years, but is it more than 1,000 years? That's another thing too, because time is distorted. Actually, I should have said it like 2,800 years ago or 2,700 years ago, according to the historical books. But when were these things really written? See, that's the thing. as we're saying, as I'm reaching out here towards those early tabs that we opened up, there is a rewriting in the movie, Orwell's movie 1984, which again, they got to kind of give us all the answers, and it's up to us to see. And again, go within to find those answers, but you can definitely look at things from a different perspective. They're always rewriting history. They're recycling faces. They're recycling names. They're recycling historical battles. They're creating things that never took place, and they're covering up things that did. This is what the system does.
You know, I mean, when it comes to watching other channels and getting other information and learning the historical aspects of things, it really is just what I've seen is just a continual rehashing of the information that's already out there. And it's about splitting hairs of what did this mean or what did that mean. And after a while, you know, you only have so much history. There's only so much written in the books. It's like, how many more times can you just continue to copy the information when... I mean, I feel the best idea is, like Mike said, go within, learn to go within, find your own truth, because we can tap into this etheric realm. We can get truth. We can get this information for ourselves, and we're getting there. We are getting there. We have stepped into an age where people are going to start learning these abilities, and the control system has to up their game as far as getting people dumbed down again and getting people to teaching them what to think, not how to think. I mean, critical thinking is like, it's very bad for the control system. You don't want anybody out there who can think for themselves, that can say, well, you know, this is what I feel. This doesn't make sense to me. They don't like that. It irritates them. So many people that do come in, you know, they give information that they've simply heard from another book. You know, they've only heard it from another person. No, but it's so important. What do you think? Your thoughts are important.
Absolutely. So there was a strong earthquake in Japan that left 9 people with minor injuries, no tsunami. They were showing at like 6.4, 6.3. I've been watching this ebb and flow. It really has ebbed and flowed a lot. It was about 100 more quakes that they showed in a 24-hour period, maybe 12 hours ago. You know, this had stopped briefly, and then it picked up again. As you see over here in New Jersey, there's 4 more varying depth, but basically between 5.7 and 8.5 kilometers of depth. And if you go to 30 days and look at what do we have here? We have 93 1% of all the quakes on the planet in this period of time basically have come out of New Jersey. That's weird. Now that is weird. Yet again, in these times, nothing surprises me. When I look at what I expect to happen, which is I'm still expecting Cascadia and San Andreas and New Madrid. I do think it's most likely, again, still in the near future. So, I've been watching this right now at the moment. What do we have? 4.9 up here off the coast of Vancouver, and this looks 4.9 as well. Let's go with 30 days and see what we are looking at as far as the activity. Yeah, it's been fairly active. There's been consistent ones over here in Idaho in the exact same spot, just above Boise. And as we go on down, there's been quite a few off the coast of Los Angeles. And then a lot over here off the Baja area. But, this is something that does happen. I think, again, when this happens, I don't see this as being natural at this point in time. I see the big ones, they're going to be triggered maybe a decade, 2 decades, 3, 4 decades ahead of their time. I think they are coming. I think they would come naturally. But it's technology that's going to trigger them. And that's what I feel. And Cindy is in agreement. Ecuador introduces 3-day working week. Wow. let's go to Ecuador, right? As it launches investigation into energy shortages. They've ordered, I should say, public and private sector workers take Thursday and Friday off, guys. Save energy. In response to an unprecedented series of power outages, sudden blackouts began hitting the South American nation on Monday, prompting a furious reaction from President Daniel Noboa, who fired Andrea Arobo, his energy minister. Experts point to a drought triggered by the El Niño weather phenomenon, with Ecuador and other Andean nations heavily reliant on hydroelectric dams harnessing mountain runoff water. Now, it's interesting, too, because the Panama Canal, as we know, has been very, very shallow. And yet, what's really, really going on? If you look at the El Niño and La Niña years, yes, we did have a strong El Niño in 2023 to 2024. How about the years right before that? Weak La Niña. And as you could see, weak or moderate La Niña. So 1 year did that. And again, we're watching it transition back kind of quickly. No, it's geoengineering. That's the bottom line. This is being manufactured via technology. The interesting part is now, they're telling everybody that they're cloud seeding. They denied cloud seeding even when there was all sorts of documentation going on showing it's been in process for decades. Again, we've talked about Operation Popeye. In the war in Vietnam, they flooded away whole villages. And again, that's 50 years ago. Flooded away entire villages with weather modification. They can trigger massive earthquakes. They can also do all sorts of things with pretty much every aspect of the weather. And people are seeing it now. But they're okay with that now, as long as you think it's humans doing it. And meanwhile, here you go. This is the newest Boston Dynamics generation of Atlas robot. If you see this little guy, not necessarily so little, he is, what's going to be policing us, so to speak, as they are, getting their drone armies and robot armies. And there are people that see this. There are people that are, at least sharp enough to understand. It's just the beginning. And yesterday I was seeing a lot of people saying, whatchamacallit? Yeah, Judgment Day, Terminator, Judgment Day. Because all they got to do is put weapons into these things or hands, or just simply mount them on them, as we've seen already. Those Boston Dynamic dogs with 50 caliber machine guns mounted on top, or lasers. Yeah, this is when humans will no longer police humans. This is their next play. This is how you get people that are in positions of power that they don't seem to be so worried about humans, interfering in their plans. Well, over here, this is Amsterdam new sewer system. And as they dig down, what do they find? Underground passages, well-kept red brick walls, arched windows and doors, vaulted roofs, and walls up to 32 inches thick. Construction doesn't look too far off from what we see today. And, the talk of Tartaria and mud floods is very real. One civilization is built on top of another. There was high culture here in the Americas that's been hidden. And in some ways, the Americas are even more mysterious than what's going on over in Europe. As, we have so many giant beings that were found. And, again, those that follow the system say, oh, well, that's Genesis 6. That's the Nephilim. It's only the Nephilim. Well, and I said that because, again, you're categorizing, if you believe that, everybody into one big category when there's been all sorts of giants. Some very, very gentle and not warlike and very, very friendly towards other humans. And then, yes, there were also others that were the offspring of those that we call the Anunnaki not so friendly and had certain fetishes, let's just say you wouldn't invite them to a barbecue.
No barbecues. Definitely not. So a lot of hidden information in our world, and that just goes to show how the controllers, they decide what we get to see. You know, any little bit of media, any bit of education is only out because they want it to be out. We need to dig deeper, and in order for us to do that takes, you know, some time and some effort and some action on our part. You know, we need to look out into the vast ocean of information and start pulling it for ourselves, and start supporting each other as well. You know, start allowing one another to make mistakes and be wrong, because that's what it takes to start to do this reading of the energies. You have to be willing to make a mistake. You have to be willing to be wrong. I mean, even in life can be a really, really good teacher. I look back at the times when you were wrong. Look back at the times when you did question. What were the situations around that? And this is how you begin to read things for yourself. This is how you start to understand things for yourself, and not allowing an external entity make all these decisions for you.
Absolutely. You know, so what's this guy thinking about? Is he thinking, my God, the humans just don't get it? I don't see how they don't see what's happening. You know, it just boggles my mind. Where did I leave that bone? Source bless. Namaste.
Namaste.